The light and dark feminine, the yin and yang of the feminine energy, are not to be confused with the healed and the unhealed feminine. The light and dark feminine resource us as they provide inner tools we can access through every stage of life. And that is why we need to know and remember them, because they already live inside of each one of us. Welcome to Her Second Stage, the podcast dedicated to inspiring successful women in the next stage of their lives. I'm Hilda Lunderstedt, and I'm excited to share the lessons I've learned as I transitioned into my second stage. Join me on this exciting journey of sisterhood and remembering who we are at our core. Remember, no matter where you've been, the best is yet to come. At this stage of life, we do find ourselves at crossroads. Old roles are shifting, old doors are closing, and new possibilities are opening up. The light and dark feminine energy are powerful forces that guides us through these transitions, helping us embrace our wholeness. The light feminine, her qualities are nurturing, compassion, she's playful, she's innocent, she's trusting, and she shows devotion to those that she loves. She brings harmony, connection, and beauty and lightness to the world. She would be seen as the maiden or the virgin, as she represents the essence of youth, innocence, and curiosity. Or the mother embodies nurturing creation and abundance. Good real life examples of the light feminine would be Mother Mary or Princess Diana. These role models in women hold the essence of the light feminine. The dark feminine, on the other side, is a powerful transformative force, often misunderstood. She challenges us to face our fears, embrace change, and step into authenticity. She's alluring, she's sensual, she's fierce and wild, she's intuitive, she's liberated, and she's an alchemist. Her energy is very primal and transformative. In the language of archetypes, she's the wild woman, which is a symbol of freedom, authenticity, and primal power, or the crone, who holds wisdom, intuition, and a deep connection to life's mysteries. The dark feminine is not the same and should not be confused with the shadow feminine or the wounded feminine. Both light and dark feminine, when wounded, do have their own shadows and suppressed aspects, which we will discuss later on in this episode. All of us have access to the essence of the light and the dark feminine to draw from and to resource us in every aspect and in every stage of life. When you know her, you can call on her. There are situations where you need to be curious or nurturing, and then you'll call on the attributes of the light feminine. In other instances, you need to lead fearlessly, and you might call on the attributes of the dark feminine. How amazing that we have all of these wide range of resources right inside of us. We just need to know about them so that we can know how to access them. In their healed state, both the light and dark feminine embody distinct yet complementary attributes and behaviors that creates balance and wholeness. The light feminine is characterized by compassion, nurturing, creativity, collaboration, and emotional intelligence. She leads with openness and grace, fostering connections and inspiring growth in those around her. Her behaviors reflect generosity, empathy, and uplifting presence that empowers and unites. The dark feminine is equally powerful and it embodies depth, intuition, transformation, and resilience. When she comes from her heart-centered space, she's fearless in addressing shadows, embracing change, and asserting boundaries with clarity and strength. Her behaviors include decisiveness, self-mastery, and an ability to navigate complexity with wisdom and purpose. She has many intuitive gifts. She has a wide range of emotions and is very, very sensual. Together, these aspects create a dynamic and empowered individual, integrate softness with strength, reflection with action, vulnerability with courage to achieve authentic leadership and meaningful impact. When the light and dark feminine becomes wounded, her shadow develops and she shows up revealing her wounded side. The light feminine goes from curious, nurturing, and playful to show up as a people pleaser, a martyr. She smothers, living her life through her children. She has a fear to set boundaries as she was taught unconditional love has no boundaries. Emotional manipulation give her emotional power over others. When the dark feminine is wounded or shows up from her shadow side, we will recognize her by her vindictiveness. She gossips, she's merciless, and a know-it-all. She's vengeful and in general, quite destructive behavior. An example of the shadow of the dark feminine will be maleficent or bad witches. All of us have the potential to have both the whole and the shadow. These aspects can show us up in stress and when we are being triggered. So it's important to notice where we live when we are in a state of being triggered. Let's look how they show up in the healed state and then explore the shadow. You will recognize her for sure. If not in yourself, definitely in others. I'm going to touch on the feminine archetypes, but there's still a full episode that we'll just discuss archetypes in detail. Like what's a feminine archetype? It's a universal pattern or symbol that represents aspects of human experience. They're deeply embedded in our psyches and influence how we think, feel, and act. There are 12 feminine archetypes within each and every one of us. But like I said, this episode is not intended to discuss all 12, but rather to focus on the light and dark feminine as a collective and to understand the difference between the light feminine and the dark feminine, and to especially destigmatize the dark feminine. I'm going to just briefly touch on the light feminine archetypes so you can recognize and see how to use her to resource you. The Maiden, Snow White will be an example. She represents innocence, wonder, excitement about life. The example would be a woman who starts a new hobby with curiosity and openness. But in her shadow, she can be quite naive and avoid responsibilities. An example of this would be the woman avoiding making important decisions out of fear for growing up or failing. The mother is another archetype of the light feminine, really nurturing, loving, and that deeply protective part of you. And the example of a typical healthy mother is supporting your child achieving dreams, or a woman mentoring a young colleague. The wounded mother, on the other hand, overgives, which leads to her exhaustion or resentment. She ends up feeling unappreciated after sacrificing personal time for others. The sensual lover, she's passionate and deeply connected to intimacy and joy. She's the one you'll call on when you reignite on your passions in a long-term relationship or embracing your own body with love and acceptance. Her shadow side is overdependency, needy, clinginess, and relies on validation from others. When she's not validated or admired by others, she can feel unworthy. Some archetypes of the dark feminine, which you'll recognize also as attributes you have inside you. The wild woman embodies freedom, authenticity, and that primal power. This is a woman breaking free from societal expectations to live life on her terms. Her shadow side would be recklessness or a disregard for others. She could very well be ignoring loved ones' feeling while pursuing personal desires. The wise woman or the crone, She's intuitive and deeply connected to life's mysteries. This is a woman guiding others through her life experiences and wisdom. Her shadow side could be bitterness and withdrawal, feeling cynical and detached from others after years of disappointment. You can begin to see that you have all of these attributes within you. It's important to become aware when you express the shadow aspects. Both light and dark feminine is important as we dance with them both daily. The light feminine will nurture and builds, while the dark feminine transforms and liberates. Together they create balance and wholeness. An example of their partnership would be the light feminine that supports a friend with compassion, but the dark feminine that encourages that same friend to face hard truths and facts for growth. Typical stories where light and feminine has been used would be Belle in Beauty of the Beast. She's kind, compassionate, and she's nurturing. She sees the good in the beast and uses her gentle nature to transform him. Another example would be Wonder Woman. She's a powerful warrior princess who uses the strength to protect others and fight for justice. She embodies both feminine compassion and strength. Xena, Princess Warrior, is yet another example where she's a skilled fighter, strong moral compass. She uses the strength to protect the weak and fight for justice. Examples in movies, how the balance of light and dark feminine is portrayed. For instance, Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games, who embodies both the nurturing side of the light feminine through protecting her sister and the fierce independence of the dark feminine fighting for survival. To understand and create the awareness, it's good to ask yourself some questions like, where does the light feminine show up in my life? Where do I see the dark feminine at work? What shadow traits am I suppressing, and how might they help me grow? Some practical steps to call on or engage with your light feminine is practice acts of kindness and nurturing, but by starting with yourself. Celebrate beauties in small ways, flowers on your table, a beautiful meal. Become curious about a creative project. Create that curiosity and wonder in your life. And find ways to be playful. How to engage in the dark feminine? Practice your queen energy. Wearing your crown as you show up in your power. Practice and play with your sensuality. And by sensuality, I mean how pleasure feels in your body. And by pleasure, it could be anything that's fun and brings you joy. Develop your intuition and your gifts of alchemy. You might wonder why talking about this or why it matters in the second stage of life. Let me explain. At this stage, the Maiden and the mother archetype was the main archetypes that resourced us as we were building our families, our relationships, our lives, and our businesses. But as we're entering our second stage, these archetypes might start taking a back seat while the wild woman or the crone steps forward, sharing wisdom and authenticity. In many times where we often feel confused or depleted, it's really important to remember and to know that we have all of the resources within us. They're there for us to draw from them. And as our second stage develops, we need to draw on different archetypes or the different essences that we have inside of us. This is the time to embrace our authentic self, heal old wounds, deal with the shadows, and create a life that aligns with our deepest truths. Your light and dark feminine essences are partners in every stage of life. By embracing them both, you'll find a deeper sense of balance, purpose, and authenticity. If you like this episode, please share with a friend. Please download, like, or review my podcast and follow me on social media. If you are curious and to learn more about how you can use your light and dark feminine to empower you, find tools on hersecondstage.com. Enjoy and have so much fun exploring all that you are.